Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Monish. As always, I'm joined by Nishant. We last recorded an episode on Thursday. We took the weekend off and we had the Good Friday off, and a lot seems to have happened since then. But one thing has not changed: the Lakers are in a free fall. They've slipped from third to fourth to fifth, and now the Nuggets are above them. How bad is it for the Lakers? I mean, are you concerned as a fan, first of all?
Yeah, it's. I mean, remember when AD was out and I said, "What's the rush? Let him recover." And if the Lakers finish first, second, third, fourth, whatever, they'll. As long as AD's back fully fit for the playoffs, it's okay. It's all good. And then LeBron got hurt,
Yeah.
and the dark underbelly of the Lakers got exposed. Mostly not because of these two, but because Dudley also got hurt, and that's too much to take for a franchise. So they're in free fall now. There's really no other way to put it, and it's not going to change. They can sign whoever off the free agency or buyout market. It's not going to change, and unless LeBron or AD come back in a hurry, you're
Mm-hmm.
now realistically looking at possibly an outside the top four finish for the Lakers. Now they'll
Right.
get to the playoffs. Like they could free fall how much ever, and they'll get to the playoffs. The tricky situation is it going to be as bad as a plain situation for
Mm-hmm.
the Lakers?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. There's an outside chance, but maybe not. But the
Yeah.
real risk is in a loaded West. Um, LeBron and AD out for a while means you're going to be outside of the top four, which means you'll play one of the top four. That's your
Right.
first threat. And if LeBron and AD are out for a while, by the time they come back, they're not going to have much match fitness because it is quite an extended layoff for both.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another concern. Are they coming back fully fit? Are they in rhythm? Will they need some time? All of these things further compound what is already going to be a very, very tough matchup because in the West, the top 6, 7 teams are a threat and can knock anyone out. At least one series, if they have their day, they can knock anyone out. Would you really finishing outside the top four means that you will have the toughest path possible to
Mm-hmm.
making it out of the West, and it'll take a lot out of you,
Mm-hmm.
which is further complicated by you're going to face possibly a full strength Brooklyn Nets in the finals. So
Right.
yeah, I'd worry if I were a Lakers fan right now.
Absolutely. The Denver Nuggets jumped, leapfrog the Lakers today. The Portland Trailblazers are just a half a game behind, which means the Lakers have every possibility of the Lakers slipping to the sixth.
Yeah.
The Mavs are just 2 games behind. Now, if the Mavs by chance leapfrog the Lakers, that means Lakers are into the seventh spot, which means a play-in game. And the play-in game can get tricky, right?
Yeah.
It's one game. If you're in seventh, you get two chances. Well, of course, you could either face the Grizzlies, you could face the Spurs, you could face the Warriors, you could face Pelicans if they make it, you could face the Kings, and it's one day. So if it's the Warriors, I'd be worried because you never know which Steph Curry would turn up.
Yeah.
And on his day, he's good enough to beat the Lakers on his own. So it's kind of concerning. If I were a Lakers fan, yes, I mean, I would try to stay at least in the sixth spot. But staying in the sixth spot means that right now they'd face the Clippers because Clippers are third. Phoenix Suns have uh, gone to second, which means Clippers against the Lakers in a 7 game series. Not the most preferred opponent. I mean, that's kind of scary
Yeah.
as well. Would you rather jump to seventh and then try to win the playing game and then face Phoenix Suns, which come across as easier opponent? Uh, I'd be worried even if it was the Phoenix Suns, but the Clippers are definitely much more stronger.
Yeah, they are. And you could make the argument that if the ambition is to win a championship, at some point you've got to be prepared to play the best
Hmm.
teams in the league. That's nice. That's a noble argument to make. But
Absolutely.
anyone who's watched sports for years would know that some of the fondest memories you have of championship winning teams will involve some element of luck in the way the playoffs were structured. And this could be any sport. If there's a
Right.
knockout situation involved, luck can come in handy. You take some of the best wins ever, you will remember that the most feared team from that season, like the second best team, maybe didn't face the team that you were supporting because they got knocked out by somebody else. And maybe it was an upset, but it happened. And your team did have to deal with it. You don't, it's okay to say, let's say the Western Conference Finals is happening and the Lakers and the Clippers are playing.
Hmm.
Now, then you'd be fair to say, hey, if you want to win it all, then you've got to get past the Clippers. If you can't beat them, then should you really have championship
True.
aspirations at all? That's one way to look at it. if it's the finals, that's the only way to look at it. But to say it's fine, you've got to beat them if you face them, so you might as well be okay facing them, are two very different things, right? As a Lakers fan, why does anyone fight for the first seed then? Like any favorite for the chip should just chill in the regular season, finish seventh or eighth, and take it from there. Why do you fight for the first seed? So that you get an easy first round, so that you're not fatigued by the second round, so that some of the better teams kind of knock each other out, and you get to pick apart whoever's left. That's the whole advantage of toiling through all of the regular season to get that seed. So I don't think the Lakers would want to face the Clippers, but the alternative, it's you're trying to engineer probability at that stage. Go to the plane game, then beat this opponent, then maybe face that opponent. Phoenix
Right.
Suns on the day, if the Lakers are not fully fit, can beat the Lakers. So there's really no. Uh, I don't think the playing games will happen. By the way, I think one of the
Mm-hmm.
two superstars will come back, if not both.
Mm-hmm.
And once they do, there's not very many teams that are beating the Lakers, at least in the regular season. So I think what we're likely looking at is maybe like a fifth place finish, something like that, maybe
Mm-hmm.
sixth,
Mm-hmm.
which is honestly not too bad, because then you're playing the fourth seed in the West or some such.
Right.
Fourth seed or similar. It's that I can live with, because that was likely, if not a first round matchup, that would have been a second round matchup anyway. So that we can live with. But yeah, I'd be my biggest fear factor is the Lakers drop so low to sixth, maybe seventh, where they're in a playing scenario, or sixth, where they play a relatively good team.
Mm-hmm.
But the bigger factor here is AD and LeBron are out for so long that when they do come back, it's not yet a fully match fit AD and LeBron, and they're playing a good team in the first series. That's
Right.
the worst case scenario right now.
Before AD and LeBron got injured, the Lakers had a big problem with, well, the big man. The number five, Mark Gasol, was not cutting it for them.
Yeah.
They went ahead and got in Andre Drummond. And Drummond, ironically, got injured in the first game itself after playing 12 minutes after he hurt his toe. Now, but he'll be back soon. It's not a big serious injury.
Yeah.
Do you think Drummond with LeBron and AD cuts it? Like, is he good enough? Is definitely an upgrade over Gasol, but good enough on a championship team?
Yeah, for sure. I think with LeBron and AD is key.
Mm-hmm.
Without them, I couldn't care less. With Drummond, without Drummond, like the Lakers are gonna suck. Excuse me. He's not Embiid. He's not gonna carry the team.
Right.
That's not gonna happen. He's not a Carl Anthony Towns. He's not one of those guys. He doesn't shoot much from the outside, if at all. He's an interior only scorer, and he's actually world famous for being atrociously inefficient. Worst shot selection, like 300 shots for 2 points scored. He's terrible, right? But I think you've got to take that stat with a pinch of salt,
Mm-hmm.
because he's also been on some of the most terrible teams of all time, like a
Mm-hmm.
career Detroit guy for a while before getting
Mm-hmm.
dumped to yet another all-time pathetic team. And what's your incentive really for being high efficiency? It's not like anyone else is going to figure high on the usage rate chart. All the balls are going to get pumped to you anyway. Like the biggest disincentive for a player to shoot badly is that he's not going to get the ball. Like in the next play, he's not going to be involved. He's not going to get to take a shot. People have limited shot opportunities. Drummond in Detroit and Cleveland, what limit? So, so I think that doesn't fully reflect his ability. I think with an elite playmaker like LeBron, or even with Dennis Schroeder on court,
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to get a lot of easy point opportunities. So that's a valuable asset to have then, to have a 7-footer that can shoot and dunk, at least in the paint. And his rebounding is well and truly elite. So paired with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, he's great. I can definitely see him on a championship team. He's a big upgrade on Gasol. Without them, he's not going to make anything happen. It'll just be him in Detroit or him in Cleveland, because that's what the rest of the squad is.
You completely eliminated my next question because I was saying that the Lakers fans were hyped up when they signed Drummond, and I was like, would you consider him a good player if he moved to, say, the Boston Celtics?
No.
I would, and the answer was definitely no. But since he moved to the Lakers, he suddenly emerged as this great player. But you completely eliminated that aspect of it. But would you be comfortable with Drummond closing out games? And I ask this because he's a 59% from the line
Yeah.
shooter, and that's kind of scary, right? I mean, the teams could just foul him and then he goes to the free throw line and misses out in a close game.
Yeah.
That's something that as a fan I would not be very comfortable with. Would you be comfortable with him closing out
Yeah,
games?
not really, no. And LeBron's not particularly good either, right? That's the one glaring minus point that you can pick in his game is free throw shooting in general, but especially in the clutch, like fourth quarter closeout games. He's not been very. It's erratic. You never know what you're going to get from him.
Mhm.
Now, when you put Drummond on top of that, that's a lot. It's like the Shaq Kobe Lakers if Kobe also couldn't shoot free throws. And like, what are you doing, man? Excuse me. So, I think you'll see the Lakers lean more towards, depending on the matchup, a Mark Gasol or a Montrezl Harrell at the 5 type situation to close out games. But in the playoffs, to close out tight games, I wouldn't be surprised if they move Anthony Davis to the 5. They've done that in the playoffs last season. It worked
Right.
great for them. And Anthony Davis, forget that he's a big man. If I had to pick one guy that could take all free throws for the Lakers, that would be him. In clutch moments, any moment, right? Because I trust him more than a bunch of guards that are in the Lakers. He's a very good free throw shooter. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. If it comes to it, um, I wouldn't be surprised if AD plays at the 5 and maybe they play Montrez or Markieff Morris at the 4 and move with it. Or Kuzma also. So yeah, I wouldn't
If
be too worried, but yeah, not a
Mhm.
great closer round.
Yeah, before we close out this episode, if you had to pick a preferred playoff opponent in the first round, who would it be? Would it be Phoenix Suns, Clippers, Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, Nuggets? Who would it be? I mean, if you're finishing lower, who would you finish? Like, if you finish sixth, who would you
Yeah.
prefer finishing third?
Yeah, I think the matchup that works best for the Lakers is actually Portland, despite
Mhm.
their reinforcements, because they're still not like they don't have the full strength squad fit, and they're not likely to either for the first round of the playoffs. Uh, it's a known enemy. Like the Lakers have taken them last season; they've played them before. I'd of these teams, I think Portland are easier to contain because you contain Portland by containing Damon Lillard. Like you contain him.
Right.
You can't stop a player like Lillard, but you can certainly hope to reduce the damage. And the rest of the team would have to step up. They don't have Gary Trent shooting those bombs anymore, so that's a big change there. I know they've had some bolstering, but it's still a Damon Lillard team in the playoffs. So
Mhm.
I'd be more comfortable playing them than playing, say, a Phoenix where you have Chris Paul. I don't want his playoff experience anywhere near this team. I don't want Devin Booker's a handful. Both of them are. And
Yep.
then you've got Aiton and Saric and all these other guys. It's too many pieces to contend with. And
Right.
on their day, like any one guy can go off and it's a problem because that sort of came out of syllabus for the game plan. So
Yep.
Portland.
Okay, the Nuggets would have been quite a handful too because Joker's
Yeah,
running,
exactly.
and now I think he's really making his case for the MVP. You said if the Nuggets don't finish in the top four, there's no chances getting the MVP, and there you go, Nuggets are in the top four.
Hey, I wouldn't
So
be surprised if he's the favorite right now in the MVP
mhm,
race. I know we've had so many changes to this race this
yep,
season,
and
and
James
it's a lot
Harden's
of
injured as well, so
exactly.
that kind of bolsters his chance even more.
Yeah. No, but Denver, that goes without saying. I didn't even mention Denver and Utah because these are probably the two strongest um, teams in the West, along with the Clippers, right? And Utah's a whole different story. But with Denver, it'll be an interesting matchup. Actually, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. Denver against the
Hmm.
Lakers because you've got one of the best offenses in the league in Denver versus one of the best defenses in the league in the
Right.
Lakers. It'd be a fun matchup, and what I said last year still holds true. Denver have absolutely no answer for Anthony Davis, and the Lakers can
Mhm.
have some semblance of an answer for Jokic, at least to contain, can't shut him down. But the Nuggets have no answer for Anthony Davis. That's their biggest problem because Jokic will be required to defend at the other end when Anthony Davis comes down the court, and he's not going to be able to do.
All right, so that was the Lakers. Hopefully, they have better run of games soon, or else you will have Luca and the Mavs chasing them right away. So
That's a
it's
nightmare matchup. The Mavs.
it's important that the Lakers pick up some wins soon. But that's all we have for today's episode. As always, nice talking with you, and we'll catch up tomorrow.
All right, man. Cheers.